welcome everyone to our session on the art of the possible with contract lifecycle management. Today, next slide, please. Today, we'd like to talk about how contract lifecycle management can help public sector organizations in a variety of ways and support them in achieving their goals and missions. And we're going to take a brief look at the current state of CLM, look at some innovative applications, and discuss how CLM can be viewed as the fifth system of record. And finally, how organizations can successfully transform. But first, next slide, please. But first, let us introduce ourselves. My name is George Sellner, and I'm the Senior Director of Industry Solutions within the public sector here at Icertis. I've spent my entire career supporting and helping a variety of organizations improve their approach to procurement, both through the use of advanced tools such as artificial intelligence and machine learning to automate many aspects of the acquisition process, as well as simply identifying areas of supply chain inefficiencies for automation. And now I'd like to introduce my co-presenter, Pabla. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, George. Am I audible? Yes, no?
Yes.
We can hear you, Paul. We can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll say, first of all, thank you to the Public Sector Network for organizing the event. It's lively discussions and, all the panelists before that, Scott and Josie, Steve, you're doing an amazing job in, managing the flow. So coming back to me, my name is Paul. I'm the CEO of ThoughtStorm. We are born out of the public sector. I spent the last 10 plus years in the Ontario public sector leading many strategic initiatives at with different ministries, and started this journey on 3 years ago with a ThoughtStorm, and we are 80 plus strong now in 3 different countries. And public sector at various levels, federal, provincial, municipal, remains the core focus for us. So, as part of this, the art of the possible, we'll be walking you through how the different organizations within the public sector can transform themselves. So I'll go to the next slide.
Great. So let's just jump in, shall we? First, let's look at some of the typical challenges we see government organizations face, as well as a path to CLM maturity. In taking a broad look across our customer base and classifying the issues that they most frequently face, we typically see 4 far-reaching areas of challenges. First, a lack of transparency, which is characterized by fragmented spend management, limited public visibility into planned solicitations and contracted purchases, as well as underutilized organizational contracts. Second, operational inefficiencies manifested by manual handoffs and data entry between solicitation and contracting processes, reactive contract performance management and monitoring, and a lack of integrated vendor management. A third category we see are increasing risk factors such as economic uncertainty and volatility, continual legislation and policy changes, as well as increased supply chain disruption. And finally, a poor user experience, such as siloed solicitation, contract, vendor management systems, lack of self-service bidding and contracting tools, coupled with limited real-time internal and external collaboration. And Paul, do you want to add any color from ThoughtStorm's experiences with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk more about on the technology side of things, because you covered the business side. So every organization, especially in the government sector, they got a lot of this legacy debt, we call it, a lot of legacy systems, some homegrown, some from a third-party vendor, and some are built on different technologies from mainframe and so on. So they don't lend themselves perfectly to these seamless kind of integrations. So you got these internal systems within the different government sector, you got these external systems you're connecting with, either they're the banks and so on and so forth. And their maturity level is very different. So sometimes it makes it very hard to drive the benefits. I know Josie was talking about, building your projects are outcome driven. So you're not able to get those benefits realized with all of these technology challenges. And on top of that, you couple that up with when the technology is not, seamless and flowing through, you have manual processes introduced, you have customizations developed on top of this. So all this leads to, as part of the last box in there on George's slide is about, poor user experience. So what happened in that sense? You move away from leveraging the technology and the tool, and you're going to start building your own kind of processes because the application you implemented does not work. So we have seen a lot of this repeatedly, and I'm hoping at this part of this discussion, we're going to be able to provide some solutions. So back to you, Joe.
Okay, great, thank you. And given the challenges we just talked about, how can an organization grow and utilize its CLM capabilities to address those key pain points? Well, first, I think it's necessary to understand the path an organization takes in utilizing CLM. And to that end, here at Icertis, we see 5 stages organizations go through to reach the full potential of the CLM implementation. The journey begins with stage 1, an electronic repository for their contracts. Secondly, at stage 2, the ability to analyze that data within the repository, helping identify duplications, conflicts, and obligations. Moving up the steps, at stage 3, integration occurs, allowing for more complete and effective compliance with contractual commitments. Stage 4, we see increased automation, promoting faster cycle times and acceleration of deliverables. And then finally, at stage 5, optimization. And by that, what we mean is the maximization of the contract's value by leveraging AI or other advanced techniques to track and manage obligations and SLAs, thus reducing risk by making those obligations actionable. Paul, have you seen similar maturity paths by the customers you've helped implement CLM solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the journey you have outlined will work. This framework will work for pretty well all the organizations. Now, each organization and the CLM will take its own path with some minor variations depending on their maturity. Now, sometimes, for example, the clients is using more than one system originally to manage their contracts. They are looking at the transition in and transition out. So as the transformation is happening, they're also looking at what they're going to do with the legacy data, all the legacy system and all that, because sometimes it's not easy to switch. Another area which I find is it's outside of technology is the adoption. That's the organizational change management. Especially in the government, the procurement, the vendor management, the contracts is one of the oldest work function. So we have seen people have joined their role in this role, and they are actually retiring in this. For them, the change in the technology is huge. So managing the overall organization, change management from end to end when this transformation journey starts is very, very critical for us. At the end of the day, that the technology will do the job it's intended to do. It's how well the people are using and how well the organization from the top down is championing the cause and addressing all the concerns out there.
Great. And then at Icertis, we like to use the term art of the possible to help our customers see new ways our technology can help address the issues they most commonly face.
Yeah. So in terms of the overcoming challenges, I know in the previous slides, we outlined some challenges in here. So one of the challenges, there are manual and fragmented processes. The application of the processes is not consistent. How many times we have seen that, you ask the same question to a team 3 times and you get 3 different answers. So the decisions varies by the people. For many vendors, these systems are a black box. They don't know what's going to come out of it. And even sometimes I'll go as far as even for the internal users, they're black box because they don't know what their current system is going to use. So taking these manual and the fragmented processes and building one contract solution is the way to go. So you got all the data centralized, everything is in here, the processes are consistent. The second one is about the overall, the vendor management. The whole vendor management is, it relies on the principle of there's a collaboration, it's transparent, and our vendor community can trust the process in here. So when we are able to build a system with a more of an innovation, streamlining the end-to-end process in there, it builds confidence in the system, and it also builds the speed in terms of the shorter turnaround times if there are questions. We do a lot of these proposals and the bids and the contracts, and pretty well every time, I'll say 100% of the time, everything is delayed. And the question to ask is why? And the answer is not all the information is kind of flowing back and forth at the right time. Another challenge is, and this is to do with the way the current analytics is done. It's very reactive. The data comes in, the dashboards are published, and from the time the data is inputted into the system and you see it on the dashboard, there is a lot of lag in there, and then you lose the valuable time. So with the innovation in here, with the whole AI and the data-driven decisions, you got access to the same transactional data in the real time. You're able to see how all the different contracts are flowing. You're able to make decisions pretty well in the real time rather than getting a report a week later. George, anything to add?
Well, I think we see those challenges over and over with our customers as well. With CLM, we see our customers addressing these issues by getting their hands around things simple as such as contract versioning, tracking, retaining change history, streamlining of agreements, things of that nature. So yes, I agree. So at Icertis, CLM is what is creating what we call the fifth system of record. And when we think of enterprise data, the systems that most often come to mind are customer relationship management, human resource management, supply chain management, and enterprise resource planning. But ultimately, contracts are the foundation for all of those other systems, acting as their crucial building blocks. Why? Because contracts govern every dollar that goes in and out of an organization. That means when organizations adopt CLM, they are creating a fifth system of record and a new source of intelligence. That truth is enshrined in their contract data. And Icertis and its partners like ThoughtStorm enable organizations to gain valuable insight from this new source of truth that accelerates transformation and reduces time to business value. At Icertis, we use our industry-leading technology to help transform contracts from static documents into strategic advantages. We help organizations achieve more than contract management with our solutions. Our customers gain contract intelligence, from optimized collaboration that supports improved and expanded bid participation with simple self-service supplier onboarding. Secondly, an integrated source to contract management tools that provide integrated or guided solicitation and bid package generation to ensure required clauses are included in the solicitation and deviations are automatically flagged at time of creation. And finally, automated compliance is achieved by AI-driven solicitation and contract approval routing based on current legislation and policy. And all this leads to 360-degree contract and performance monitoring, such as real-time insights to better inform strategic spend decisions, full visibility into contract funding sources, and AI-powered predictive contract performance insights. As an example of how our tools work together to bring an end-to-end solution, let's briefly look at the solicitation and bid management cycle. With the Icertis platform, organizations are able to better manage complex RFX events, including automating the request to award process, optimizing different scenarios by conducting what-if analysis, and ensuring integrated risk management and compliance by allowing full visibility. And at this point, I'd just like to turn it over to Paul to walk us through a typical approach in helping customers achieve that transformational journey.
Yeah, so implementing like a system like the CLM is a huge transformational kind of change, and there are some steps we are recommending. And at this point, you have selected the best in the class CLM system, in this case, Icertis. And we will be leading you through the transformation from our industry insights, from the deep technical knowledge and the hands-on experience. Because what it takes to take the idea from a concept to the fruition is all of these ingredients. You need to know the client, you need to know the technology you're implementing, and you need to know the way it's going to be successful. So on this journey in here, gathering the customer insights is the key. You need to know what the client is about, their canvas. You need to look at which industry they're operating and where we need to focus on their benefits realization. Then you need to go down a level to assess the current state within those groups who will be using the contract lifecycle management system. You also need to look at the maturity of the overall organization change within those groups. From there on, defining the future state, both from the technical and the non-technical side, coming up with those expected key outcomes. What are we looking at in terms of the volume, the capacity, so we can come up with a real implementation plan, coming up with the implementation roadmap, which is not just only realistic, it's feasible, it's achievable, and it drives you back the benefits you originally laid out from there. So at this point, George, back to you.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to everyone who's come to the presentation on our art of the possible with CLM.